Time for another episode of The Cultural Hall. It is an Articles of News episode. I hope you're liking the new intro. Let me know what you think. Or if you didn't even notice it, you're one of those people, that's fine too. Go back and listen. Contact at theculturalhall.com is our email. Would love to hear your feedback as far as that goes. I'm joined today by Meghan the Mitchell. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. If you are a first-time listener to the Cultural Hall, what this particular episode is going to be all about is news of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We call it the Articles of News. Sometimes we do interviews, and in the third part of this episode, we welcome Corey K. Ward, the Pharaoh himself, in to talk about other temples besides the St. George Temple and the three temples that were dedicated in one day. That's what we talked about in our last episode. We ran out of time because we had so much to say about the now refurbished, renovated St. George Temple. So he will be here in the third block to talk about other temples, including the Lagos, or is it Legos? We'll talk about that.
Know.
That's coming up in the third block of the Cultural Hall. Meghan the Mitch, how are you?
I'm so good. So good, Richie.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me back.
Yeah, of course. You were just boasting about how, it's your second 10-day vacation of the last couple months. Oh, my life is so hard, she says. I'm a little spacey this morning, what with just coming back from a 10-day vacation. And listeners of the Cultural Hall will remember, wait, didn't she just go fishing on a once-in-a-lifetime experience with her husband not less than 2 months ago? Yeah.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. So
yeah. Well, this
hashtag living her best life. It's Meghan.
Absolutely. Hey there, Richie. Yeah, no, this 10-day vacation included my whole family.
Okay.
So
not really a vacation.
I was going to say, do with that what you need to when you define vacation, but it was a once in a lifetime thing. We've never really done anything like this with our kids before. And basically, so you said hashtag living your best life. Our hashtag for the whole week was hashtag cruise life, because we were on a cruise.
Okay.
Up in Alaska.
Okay.
And it was amazing. It was so incredible.
Now I got a question, because I've done, let me think about this, maybe 2 cruises, maybe 1 cruise. I can't remember, actually. In fact, if you've ever been on a cruise, that will make complete sense to you. Was that 1 cruise? Was that 2 cruises?
Was that 2? I don't know.
But when you have a bajillion people, as you do in your family,
there are millions.
They have different cabins, or do you do the large cabin and it saves you money that way? How do you do all of the family in the cabins with a family of your size?
Excellent question. We ended up getting a large cabin that could sleep 8 people, which are hard to come by on cruise ships in general.
Yes.
But we did find on Princess Cruise Line, they had an 8-person suite. So we did that, and it was amazing. We had like a master bedroom kind of, and then a living area with couches that could fold out, and then another little bedroom with 2 sets of bunk beds, so 4 beds total, and like 2 bathrooms and a beautiful balcony. It was on the front of the ship, which isn't great if you get seasick easily, but it was exactly what our family needed space wise. And people are going to listen to this and they're going to think that I'm so bougie, and we're really not. Like, we've never done something like this ever with our kids, but our oldest is going to graduate high school this year. And we're like, after that, she graduates, and then another one graduates, and then people are going on missions, and then people are getting married. So it's kind of our last hurrah, opportunity to really
last of 18 summers.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. Yep. And the greatest thing is that all of the kids, we did a cruise about 4.5 years ago to Mexico with my in-laws.
Yeah,
and my youngest,
that you never do that you did 4.5 years ago. Got it.
Yeah. And no, well, so when I say that we've never done it, it's like all of our vacation.
Never. I mean, we haven't done it in September of 2023. That's what I mean.
What I mean is that we've never done a big family vacation that doesn't involve other people, like grandma and grandpa, or aunts and uncles, or family reunions. And like, honestly, that cruise at that time, like my father-in-law paid for part of it, so it was like a little bit of a different situation. But my youngest wasn't old enough to go in the pool yet. He wasn't old enough to go into any of the kids clubs yet. So it was really like the older kids got a vacation, and mom and dad were hanging out with the baby the whole day.
Yeah, they were.
And grandma and grandpa were like
Yeah.
Exactly. And so now all 6 kids went into the clubs, the various clubs that they have basically all day. Like I hardly saw them. I saw them at lunch and dinner, and it was awesome. Like even my teenagers who that sounds terrible.
No, it's great. And it's true. And that's what they do it for. That is why they do it the way that they do it.
Exactly. It's amazing. Even my teenagers spent all the time in the teenage club that they could. And they were like the only teenagers in there. So they were all just hanging out with like each other, you know, and then Penelope and John were in the younger kids club. And for the most part, they had the run of it, and just absolutely amazing. The kids saw things that they would never see otherwise. And my husband and I have been to Alaska before, but the kids never have. So we were excited to show them, you know, what we love about it. We had one port day that was canceled because of weather. So that was a bummer. We had one day where we all ended up in the room just totally down with seasickness. We were so sick. Luckily, nobody was like barfing, so that was good. But it was still like we took like a 3-hour nap. All 8 of us, we were all just down.
Just because of rough waters, or
yep, rough waters, yep. And but my kids got to see Mendenhall Glacier in Juneau. We saw humpback whales. We learned all about the Alaskan Gold Rush. And then when we got off in Anchorage, we decided we were going to spend an extra like 2.5 days kind of sightseeing. And we took the kids to Talkeetna, where Denali is. And we were so excited. We had this totally planned out without telling the kids. It was a huge surprise that we were going to take them on a flight seeing tour around Denali and land on a glacier. And we were so excited. None of the kids knew. We were like the night before, we're like, okay, everybody, you got to be up early. You got to wear all of your layers, bring your gloves, everything. And then that morning they called and canceled because of bad weather.
No.
We were so bummed because that was literally the only reason we went to Talkeetna was so that we could do that tour.
Sure.
And we had already planned that when we were done with that tour, we were going to drive to Girdwood, which is outside of Anchorage. And it's like my favorite place in Alaska. And so we called our favorite, like there's a helicopter tour there that we've done before. So we called them and we're like, any chance you guys have room for 8? Because like helicopters aren't big.
No.
Like fitting 8 people is not easy. And they're like, actually, we do. We have a tour today at 2 p.m. where we have a 3-seater and a 5-seater. If you can get here, you can do it and you can land on a glacier. And it was incredible. Nobody has lived until they've been on a helicopter with a 5-year-old. It was hilarious. He was going, no, not one bit.
Okay.
But he was humming the Jurassic Park theme song. Yes.
That's awesome. Good for him.
It was classic. It was so amazing. So excellent trip. I really think people kind of sleep on Alaska a little bit. They don't understand the magic, but it literally, like, we were all sitting there. We're like, let's just move here. We love it. We love it so much. I saw a bear on the side of the road. That was cool. We went to the Wildlife Conservation Center, which was so cool because you see like moose up close and black bears and grizzly bears.
Caribou?
We saw caribou. We saw baby moose. We saw wolves.
I think
porcupines.
baby moose are mises, aren't they?
Most
baby
likely.
Meese?
Yep.
So a couple things that I just want to pick up on this whole thing. One, I just want you to hear your own privilege real quick.
I know. It's ridiculous.
We called our favorite helicopter tour in Alaska. I just want to point that out.
It sounds so gross. It's gross.
I just want to point it out. The second thing that I want to point out is the reason why most cruise lines don't have cabins for 8 is because people go, why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself? Who would be interested in this? No one wants to do this. Let's not do that. And then the last thing, it's actually a question that I have to ask you. How bad did that cabin stink?
So the separate room with the bunk beds, that's where it got bad. Because I have 2 teenage boys in there.
Yeah.
And a preteen who's starting to get funky. You know? So that was the room where it got
where you walk in and you go,
Interesting.
something is dead. Is
Yes,
one of your brothers dead?
exactly.
Did someone bring a
Exactly.
pet and we forgot to feed it? What is, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly. But no, Richie, I do recognize my privilege. This is not something that, like, when I say that it's out of kind of character for us,
Mhm.
it really is. And yes, I did have a life-changing vacation in July with my husband. The circumstances were totally different that even allowed us to go on this vacation. I don't want to get into the details because it's personal, but
Sure.
like it's just uh it's making me I want my kids to see more of the world,
Sure.
you know,
Sure.
and we haven't been in a position to necessarily allow that in a way that um is good for them, if
Sure.
that makes sense, you know.
Mhm.
um and to see that like life can be simple with less, you know, like I was saying to my husband, I'm like, I just want to like go home and get rid of all of our crap. I
Yeah.
want to stop buying like fast fashion from Target and invest in things like, you know, clothing for my kids that's like Patagonia, where like I know it's going to stand the test of time and they can go and hike in it, you know, and just things like that where they can just appreciate things a little bit better than maybe they have. But where I do want all of the listeners in the cultural hall to know that my husband and I definitely we recognize that it's a huge blessing that a lot of people don't have access to, and we are incredibly blessed to have had the opportunity. And there was a lot of prayers of gratitude being said, including for the fact that, like, you know what, our port day got canceled in Ketchikan, and that's okay, and we're going to make our fun and we're going to make the best of it, whereas we could have gotten ticked off and angry, but like, what good does that do, you know? It's just
Yeah.
it was a really good thing for our family.
Well, I want you to
Mm.
know this. You shouldn't apologize at all. I just like
Oh,
giving
thank
you
you.
a hard time. A,
That's I appreciate that.
and B, there are different seasons as far as things go, right? There's
Yeah.
a time where you're like, man, our food, are we going to do
Yeah.
food on the table? Is that going to be a thing that we're going to do?
Right.
And, you know, usually as people start to get more established in their careers and they are able to get promotions and, you know, you're able to be back to work now, that's money that your household hasn't had prior. And that's obviously going to be able to put you in a better position. I think it's great.
Yep.
I think it's to be celebrated. It's not to be shamed. But I did want to
Thank
point
you.
out that you said our favorite helicopter tour company
That
in
well,
Alaska. No, it's
okay.
fine. It's fine. Nah, nope. There's no saving it. There's no
There's
defense.
none. There's
Just
none.
it. We just said it, and now we move on.
For what it's worth, it's the only helicopter
Okay,
tour company
sure,
that I
sure.
even know about in
Uh-huh.
Alaska.
Okay, okay. The fact that you know about one.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on a couple things. Would you like the good news or would you like the bad news? You'll get both of them. Which would you like first?
Um, can you hang tight 1 second?
Sure.
What's up? Okay. Do I want the good news or the bad news?
Mhm. You're gonna get
Let's go
both.
bad. Okay, let's go bad news first.
Okay, bad news first. Well, I went to the doctor the other day,
Okay.
and I do the regular visits to the doctor
Good for you.
because I don't want to die of something stupid. I know
That's
I'm
reasonable.
going to die. I know that that's a thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
I I mean, I could get translated, but the likelihood not, you know, especially with current life choices, probably not going to be there. But I'm not throwing it out as an option.
There you go.
I'm sure that there was time that John was like, "Well, I'm going to die," but then he, you know, anyway. So I digress. uh, but I went to the doctor the other day and did the blood work, got the stuff done,
Mhm.
and so here's what I do though, because I have a wife who understands medical things, and
Mhm.
also a wife who will I don't want to say obsessed because that has such a negative connotation, but she understands it and she understands the seriousness of some of the things and
Sure.
can read results from like blood work and go, this is great. These are
Mhm.
good things. Here is
Yeah.
a thing that we need to work on. And, you know, probably should, or this is of a serious matter. And well, here we go. I have a thing and people
A
need to know.
thing.
Yeah, people need to know about it. I
Okay.
have stage 2 kidney failure.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Richie, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So let me tell you a little bit about what stage 2 means. It's
Okay.
mild kidney damage, and my kidneys still work well.
Okay.
So I am now undergoing a very different way of living in the hopes of not dying. So
That's a reasonable reaction,
yeah,
I would say.
yeah. So it's a few things. One of the things that I am completely cutting out of my consumption is I've been taking a pre-workout for a while. I will not be doing that
Ah,
anymore. They say that that is full of a lot of things that probably my kidneys are having to filter out and unnecessary, right? So that,
yes, as I drink my pre-workout right
yeah,
now.
drink it up. I'll see you at the kidney shop here in a couple.
Sounds good.
So there's
Be
that.
dialysis buddies.
Yeah. So I hope not.
Yeah, no
I mean,
kidding.
that's science, whatever, right?
Right.
The other thing is if you eat a lot of processed meats and or processed wheats, that's the thing.
Processed meats and wheats.
Yeah. So like anything. So basically now, you know, the craze of like the Whole 30 of a few
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
I've got to eat the whole foods.
Okay, so then tell me what differentiates a processed meat from an unprocessed meat?
So like bologna, processed.
Okay.
So like ground beef, as I understand it, processed.
Really?
Yeah, steak
Okay.
not processed because it's cut off the thing and then put on the thing.
Okay,
Now,
so steak tacos are good.
yeah, but you
Yeah.
probably don't want to eat a lot of red meat just because of all the
Okay.
things that red meat are. So like your
Right.
chickens and your fishes are good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So
good-ish.
like no like beef jerky,
Yeah,
no meat sticks, no Slim Jims,
yeah,
none of
yeah.
that. Okay.
Your ham slices
Okay.
won't be hitting the deli counter anytime
I was gonna
soon.
say, so
Yeah,
that would include
yeah,
lunch meat then.
yeah.
Okay.
But then also it's things like all of your overconsumption of like your anything, your breads and your pastas and your all of that stuff where they go, we're going to take all the good stuff and process out anything that might be worthwhile and make it super tasty. Try and avoid eating this thing. So that's that. Stage 2, baby.
Okay, so what does that say for our milkshake triple date that we've been planning with
I think
Annette?
milkshakes are fine. I think milkshakes
Okay.
are fine.
Okay. Sounds
And
good.
and here's the deal. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not going to be 100% strict on it, but there's a lot that I can do in this arena that will hopefully make a difference. And part
Okay.
of it too, just so y'all know, you know
Mhm.
how everyone is always screaming about drinking water?
Yeah.
It's actually part of this is from not drinking enough water.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah, so drink
Yeah.
more water, everyone.
How are you feeling so far, and how long has it been since you've started this adjustment?
So there's like a day.
Oh.
So there's so the way that this works though is there's a number that comes out of your blood work, right?
Mhm.
And last year when I had the stuff done, it was 73. You
Okay.
want the higher the number, the better. And this
Okay.
year when I had this stuff done, it was 60. And that's
Oh.
significant because that's like a C minus to a D plus kind of.
Ouch.
So
Okay.
so there we go.
Well, Richie, so many prayers that you
Thanks.
get that you get your life figured out so that you
Yeah.
don't end up dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's about what my wife said too. A little sterner. Yeah. Yeah. I can say this. She looks at me and she's like, "You jackass. I need you to take care of yourself because I don't want to be alone." And I was like, that is the sweetest, most, firm thing you've ever said to me. So
I've had those conversations with my husband before.
yeah. I
And
mean,
do you want to know what's funny? When we
hmm,
first got married, I made him go to the doctor for something that was concerning me. And he's like, no, it's been there forever. I don't care. And I'm like, you're going to the doctor.
mhm,
And his doctor, like we had been married for like 3 weeks, and his
mhm.
doctor was like, you'd be so surprised how many men all of a sudden start coming to the doctor as soon as they get married
Yeah.
because their wives are like, tighten up,
Yeah.
get it together.
Yep. 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 So I am both tightening up and getting it together. Now, would you like the good news?
Yes.
There was
Always.
some thought in my mind, in the back of my mind, that after we did the last articles of news episode, me and Russ,
Uh-huh.
that we might be canceled, and we're not. There has been
Yay. Yay!
there has been no negative response to what I absolutely wished for the 21st day of September. I'm guessing you have not had the opportunity to listen to it.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I started. I didn't finish.
Okay, fair enough. So Russ and I were talking about how it is interesting that the Earth, Wind, and Fire song, September, also falls on the anniversary of when the prophet Moroni came to, the prophet Moroni came to the prophet Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
And
that's amazing.
And so I wanted with all my heart someone to make a jib jab of Moroni singing to the prophet Joseph Smith, "Do you remember the 21st night of September?"
Did somebody come through?
Well, so as of this recording, no one has come through, but I did get this email from Verlin, who said, "I stand with Richie T. The Book of Mormon has changed my life. I reverence its message, and Moroni has long been one of my personal heroes. That said, the idea of a Moroni jib-jabbing Earth, Wind, and Fire September has me laughing out loud. Do it, if you know, you know." So, Verlin, thank you.
Yes,
thank you
I support this because here's the thing. I fully believe if our prophets, our Latter-day prophets, are any indication, the ancient prophets do have a sense of humor.
Yes.
They would have to.
Yes.
You know? And like, it's perfect for Moroni to say, "Hey, do you remember this day?
The 21st night of September.
Big deal.
Never was a brighter day."
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
See?
I'm fully in the camp of make the jib jab.
Yep.
Or somebody's got to be able to AI it somehow.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I thought that I could just go to some site and say, "Do this," and AI is not that good yet.
Yeah.
But so there is every bit of that, everyone.
Awesome.
So that is the good news. It's not quite conquering stage 2 kidney failure, but whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. There it is.
Contact at theculturalhall.com if you want to send us emails. Let's take a break and come back and do actual articles of news. Here in the second half of articles of news, we do actual articles of news. Hit a Peter, and away we go. I want to start a little bit lighter because I think we're going to get some heaviness in today's discussions of things.
Definitely.
But President Oakes, Elder Christofferson, Elder Rasband, and President Johnson all participated in the inaugural ceremony for the 14th president of Brigham Young University. Shane Reese is the new president. This has hit the news media a little bit because one of the things that President Reese has said is, "Hey guys, we need to help other people live integritously at BYU." And your ears may go, "Wait, what does this mean?" And essentially what it is they are going to try, not like a program that makes it sound too official, but the urge is, if your roommates, someone you know, a classmate is not living integritiously, they're going to help try and empower students to be able to come alongside those students that aren't living integritiously, which I'm for this part of it. You know, I think as a society to be able to know how to do this in a loving way, in a kind way, in a hey, let's all be better people kind of way, united as a humankind that cares about people. I love that part of this. And then also they're starting an organization that will teach people, and also that if you're not able to help, that you then turn your friends and college roommates into, so that they can be able to help them live integritiously. And it's, as I understand it, it's not the honor code office, so it's not necessarily these egregious things, but I would like to make the tent of Mormonism a little bit bigger, and this feels to me like it's like, bring the tent stakes in. Everyone needs to look like this. Let's make sure everybody is this, and certainly there seems to be a little bit of that, being talked about, as far as the universities all now falling into the same, code, all of that. You can wear shorts now at the BYU Idaho, all of those things. That's a great thing, but there definitely seems to be some correlation between all the universities and saying, hey, this is what we're going to be. And if people aren't being this, make sure and tell them. And if that doesn't work, make sure and tell us. And I just don't care for that.
Well, and I think it'll be interesting to see, what does that office look like? If it's not the honor code office, what does that look like? Does it say, hey, my roommate, he told me that he cheated on a test. How do I handle that? And have them say, oh, well, first open up a dialogue and and go, teach them how to go through the process. I think if it looks like that, that's a great thing, because
Sure.
I remember when I was in college, there was something that my roommates were doing that was definitely, it was not in keeping with the honor code. It was not an egregious thing by any stretch of the imagination, but it was definitely dishonest what they were doing. And
Ooh, I want to know. Can you tell me?
Yeah, I can tell you. So, okay. And people are going to look at me and be like, Meghan, is this really a big deal? And that's
and
fine.
you said, no, it's not a big deal, but it is a
but
deal.
it's a deal. It's like I signed the same honor code as my roommates did.
Tell me, what is it?
So I was living off campus in
in the great and spacious.
Yeah, in Rexburg,
Yeah.
But I was living, it was 2 people to a room, right? In the apartment. And you could pay extra for a private room. Okay. So you could pay like double the rent, or I don't know. And there was one girl who I lived with who she paid double the rent and then let her friend live there for free. Now, there was no indication that the other girl had any sort of financial hardship. Like, it didn't seem like it was like a charitable thing. It was just, but she like fully lived there. Like, it wasn't just that she was spending the night, like,
or spending weekends, but she worked in another place. And
exactly. It was like, I moved in and this was my 5th roommate. And I kind of like, I brought it up to my mom, and my mom's like, well, that's like that's not honest, Yeah. And I brought it up with my bishop too. And he's like, yeah, like, is it an egregious sin? No, it's not, but it's not in keeping with what we have all signed to do, which is be honest in our dealings. And I was even like, it caused a huge argument, a whole situation in my apartment, and all of the roommates kind of hated me for it. But I'm like,
I see that.
But I was talking with one of my teachers about it. She was my dance teacher, so we had a little bit more of a personal relationship than like a 100-person lecture class, And she was like, well, you really got to look at it. Like, how much does your name mean to you? You sign your name on the honor code. And what is that worth to you? And they all signed their name, and you signed your name. And like, I didn't go running to the honor code office, but I did bring it up with people where I'm like, I don't know what to do about this, because it feels shady. Like, I'm such a rule follower that I would never do anything like that. I don't know. It was just kind of a weird thing. And the girl did end up having to move out of our apartment because she wasn't paying to live there. She wasn't on any of the documentation or anything. I'm sure there's liability issues too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Probably far more than the rent issue.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And it was really interesting. And so it's one of those things where, like, how do you deal with stupid things like that?
Yeah.
And so having resources in place to kind of help guide almost adults through those and young adults through those situations, I can see the merit in it. It would just depend on where the lines are drawn and how it is actually structured.
Sure. I can think. Excuse me. It's my kidney failure.
I was going to say, is that your kidneys?
I'm dying. It could very well benefit a lot of adults, not college-aged adults, as I think about this.
Accurate.
So I want to get into the big story. I told you to be prepared to talk everything about the 8 passengers' mom. We have not yet addressed this in an Articles of News. The first question that I have for you, is it Ruby Frank or Ruby Frankie?
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, same here.
So I don't know. I'm inclined to go Frankie.
Okay. Because it sounds a little funner, right? As far as, like, a YouTube influencer. It's Ruby Frankie, everybody. Okay, we'll go Frankie from here on out.
I keep getting her confused with Taylor Frankie Paul.
Yes.
So
if you hadn't heard in our last Articles of News, pregnant, congratulations, Taylor Frankie Paul.
Awesome. Hopefully that's a good step in the journey to healing for her,
Yep.
because it's been a long road.
Yes. So Ruby Frankie, tell me, for people who have no idea what we're talking about at all, set this up.
All right. So Ruby Frankie she made her name as a YouTuber, a family YouTuber. And those are, the big families who they'll post basically their entire life on YouTube. Similar to like, what is it? The Shaytards, Shay
Mhm.
Carl and his wife Colette, other families who tend to lean Latter-day Saint.
Sure. Because of the bigger
But
family, the nature
bigger
of
families.
people want
Exactly.
to watch how you have a bajillion kids.
Yes.
That tends to be Mormons or Catholics, I suppose.
Exactly. And she kind of made waves on her YouTube channel for her very strict, kind of unorthodox parenting styles and parenting tactics and discipline tactics. And lots of people brought it up. Like articles had been written and people would comment, oh, that's abusive. But like, is it abusive? Well, it turns out she was actually arrested and charged with felony child abuse and I believe neglect. She has a business partner, Jody Hildebrandt, who is a therapist.
Mhm.
And they started a YouTube channel and another, like kind of an organization, Connections Academy or something like that, Connections Classroom, where they would teach these kind of unorthodox, controversial parenting methods. And what was it? Maybe 3 weeks ago. Time is lost on me right now, but a few weeks ago, two of her children. So Ruby Frankie lives in Springville. She lives in Utah County.
Mhm.
Jody Hildebrandt lives down in Ivins in southern Utah. And two of Ruby Frankie's kids were at Jody Hildebrandt's house and they escaped out of one of the windows. Turns out they had been duct taped and like their hands duct taped together. They were emaciated. They were malnourished. The 12-year-old escaped out of the house, went to a neighbor's house and was like, we're hungry. Can you get us some food? Which then warranted calling the police. Understandable.
Sure.
And that's just that resulted in both women, Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt, being arrested. Their oldest daughter came out and was like, yeah, finally, we've been trying to get this to happen for years. All of these parenting tactics are straight up abuse. Her sisters, who apparently, I found this out, are also kind of big names in the YouTube family vlogging world, have come out saying we've been trying to get people to do something about this for years. Nothing's happened. We're so glad that it finally has happened. The minor children are all in state custody at this point. The husband, Kevin, I think he is supporting his wife. They're in jail right now, awaiting trial.
Husband and wife are in jail, or Jody and
No,
Ruby?
no,
Okay.
Jody and Ruby both in jail. Trials, they were supposed to have a trial or like a hearing for just kind of get the process started. That had to be delayed a few times. One, there was a catastrophic, life-threatening medical issue that happened with Jody Hildebrandt.
Jeez.
Nobody knows what actually happened. There's comment sections are running wild with conspiracy theories about that.
Sure.
And then they were supposed to have a trial very soon, and that got pushed out into October.
Okay.
Since then, lots of people have come out saying, well, this was my experience with her. Or there was one gentleman who also was a YouTube content creator saying she was the reason that we're divorced, that my wife and I are now divorced, because they would put forth these really kind of bananas tactics where,
like, what do you know? One of them?
I know a few. So
okay, yeah, tell me one of them so that I can go, do I think that that's bananas or is it just unorthodox?
Well, I'm going to tell you two, because one has to do with children, one has to do with spouses. So the first one was with her son. He, her oldest son, was sharing a room with the younger son. And apparently the older son would play pranks on the younger son.
Okay.
And
I mean, like a kid would do to another kid. Got it.
Yes, exactly. Pranks run wild in my house. I know all about it. Yep. And the therapist, I'm assuming that therapist was Jody Hildebrandt, said they need to be separate. They need to be separated. And so they gave him the choice and they said, you can either sleep on the couch, you can sleep on the pull-out bed in the guest room, or you can sleep on a beanbag chair. He picked the beanbag chair. And that lasted in him sleeping on a beanbag chair for 7 months with
Jeez.
like no end in sight. And basically, the mom, Ruby Frankie, was like, well, as soon as he cleans up his act, he can move back in or he can get a bed. And they're saying, well, we gave him a choice. He's the one who chose the beanbag chair. It's like, okay, but he didn't choose to stay there for 7 months, and you're not giving him the option of saying, yeah, the beanbag chair isn't working out. If I'm going to be out of this room for so long, can I please have the pull-out bed in, the in the guest room? So that's one example where I look at it and I'm like, so you took the thing that was actually a good idea of separating the kids.
Yeah, maybe I would even argue that that's a good idea, but okay, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Conceding that that's a good idea. Okay.
And then you took it to an extreme that I think anybody would look at it and go, like 7 months, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that. I'm also doing things like, we're going to take all your stuff and you have to buy it back, which again, I can look at it and go, okay, yeah, you do chores for $3 an hour and then you can have all of your toys back. But like some of it was like homework. Like, really? You're going to do that with the homework that your kid has spent time doing, like a school project, things like that. But then the other one was that this one has to do with spouses, where it's like all men are going to have impure thoughts. And so you need to start living separately from your wife when that starts setting in. When you start having impure thoughts, just go sleep in a different room or go sleep in a different house, go live in a hotel, and it's like, again, you're taking something that could potentially be a good idea and then taking it to the nth degree to where it just doesn't make any sense anymore. And there was this one guy, another YouTube content creator, who said that that's what they were advising him to do. Go live separately from your wife. Don't be around her because you're having impure thoughts. And because you're a man, this is part of your character and everything. And that ended up, they got divorced.
What?
And
I know living a separate life made them live a separate life.
Exactly. And that's happened. That more than one couple has said that was the case for them, that they would get this close association with Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt, and within a year their marriage was over. So, but the big thing is, obviously you have 2 kids duct taped and being basically held in a neglectful situation, no food, no water, having to escape and go ask neighbors, and then the other thing, this was really bananas to me. Again, I'm going to use that term. You can determine if this is bananas or not, but this one really got me. In Ruby Frankie's first appearance before a judge, she said that one of her kids, and she doesn't name who, had been acting out, and the reason that they needed to be disciplined in such a strong way is because they had been exposed to pornography when they were 3 years old. And ever since then, they had molested their siblings, and they had molested over 20 neighbor kids and everything. So that's why she needed to put this all into place. And you look at that and go, okay, even if that were true, that's not an excuse to abuse your child.
Correct.
And why didn't you get the authorities involved?
Correct.
Like, there's so much wrong with that. Also, like, that child making those choices does not give you carte blanche to do horrible things to them.
Yeah.
Well, and also, what 3-year-old is exposed to pornography?
It's funny that you say that, because I was like, yeah, that probably happens all the time.
Right, it does, but a 3-year-old wouldn't know how to seek it out again.
Sure.
They might be exposed to it one time, but what 3-year-old is getting onto YouTube and actively searching out whatever.
Yeah.
That's where I go, yeah, they may have been exposed, but they didn't develop a habit at 3.
Yeah.
That's, it's just all so crazy. So that's your very, very long, extensive Reader's Digest version.
Well, people are talking about it, so I appreciate that you not only know it, but also took the time. Couple things. Jody Hildebrandt forced to give up her license to do therapy now. So that, hallelujah.
Yes. And apparently, according to some people, it should have happened a long time ago.
Yes.
Because she was right. But even when she was a professor at BYU, there was a BYU student who said she was sharing, he was going to her for therapy, and she was sharing his personal information with classes and with other teachers,
Just huge no. My gosh.
Yes. Exactly.
And then the other thing that I will tell you is props to you for saying emaciated, because I listened to another podcast that does news about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the woman said emancipated, and I was like, it's not the same thing.
Not the same
That
thing.
is not even bordering, and didn't correct, which is fine. I say things wrong all the time, but I was like, I'm shouting at the gym. It's emaciated. It's emaciated. And people are looking over at me, and I'm like, you guys don't know, but it is.
It makes
emaciated. It's not emancipated. So,
Exactly.
so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
A follow-up, we talked quite a bit about Tim Ballard, the brother of M. Russell Ballard.
I thought he was his son.
Articles of news. They're closer than ever thought of before. No relation Tim Ballard to M. Russell Ballard. And since we published that articles of news, a couple of things that are just sort of fun about that. And by fun, I mean in the
not at all fun.
Not at all fun. One thing is that he said, I don't believe it was the church that did this. And he has quadrupled down on, I'm thinking it's someone in the PR department that has a grudge against me. My guess is that the PR department of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been infiltrated by pedophiles.
Obviously.
And they want an organization and an individual like myself to not be able to be successful, which the hard thing I think for a lot of people is they think I am against child trafficking, which yes, I don't know anyone. Hallelujah. I don't know anyone who is for child trafficking, right?
Right.
Like, I think it's sort of a collective. Child trafficking is, if not
bad,
worst, one of the worst things that you could do to a child, that you could do in life in general, right?
Yes,
absolutely. In some cases, I think worse than murder, just because of its lasting effects and lifelong, all those things, right? So I think that people equate Tim Ballard with solving that problem, and maybe he has for some, but that doesn't give him, it's not absolution from anything else that he might do. And you can still be against child trafficking and
be against Tim Ballard.
Yes, and look at it and go, okay, pure intentions at the beginning, and then pride came before the fall, and fall you have. And that leads to the second thing. Apparently 7 allegedly allegations of sexual harassment investigated towards Tim Ballard, and these are women that he would go on these missions, air quotes, to be able to get the kids out of child trafficking. And he would say things to them like, we have to sleep in the same bed because we need, if the traffickers find us, they have to believe this. So we have to sleep in the same bed. You have to shower with me, because what if they see and then they know that we're, not being honest. So
ew.
So and here's
that happened.
Yeah, so that happened. Here is the thing. The older I get, I think I may have mentioned this on the last articles of news, but I can't remember. The older that I get, I think that there is passion from people about a particular thing. And then I think there is unreasonable passion. And I have rarely seen unreasonable passion not be driven by something nefarious.
Right. Yes.
So
because it's obsession.
Yeah.
And nothing good comes from that.
And I think it becomes so much of an individual's identity that then it starts to cloud all of the other things.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't think that this was the case at all, but let's just say this for that. Let's say that Tim Ballard believes that he is the savior. A lot of people equating him to, he feels like he's the Mormon savior of child trafficking. Let's say that he truly believes that. And let's say in these scenarios where he asked the women to sleep in the same bed with him or to take a shower with him, let's say, for the sake of this conversation, let's say that it wasn't some sort of like control or power move or sexual deviancy that he was after with these women. Let's just say that he truly just was like, yes, if these people see us, we need to be able to do these things. It's still wrong.
Yes.
You don't ask someone who isn't your spouse, who,
exactly.
when you're married and all these things, it is still wrong. So even if all of the things, and even if one of the 7 allegations is true, it's still wrong. So
it's still wrong.
So there are a lot of Ballard defenders. And
Tim Ballard defenders.
Tim Ballard. Well, sure. I'm sure there's a lot of M. Russell Ballard defenders.
As well, there should be.
But in this particular instance,
yes.
Tim Ballard defenders and okay.
Yeah.
But I just think that it becomes a point, and we have seen this with other public figures as of late, where your devotion and dedication to that individual becomes ridiculous.
Yes. I can think of.
Or you're just an unprincipled person, and there, shots fired across the bow. Like, what is it you stand for? The greater good? We need the Supreme Court votes, so I guess I've got to go along with this. Is not an okay thing when you look at,
where's the helping people live integritas office to help me guide my friends or associates who will excuse behavior from certain politicians because
I wasn't talking about a politician.
Liar.
I was just, hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetical.
I said no names.
And neither did I.
Yeah.
I just said a profession.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, will hero worship, celebrities, politicians, and just excuse the behavior because what they're doing is, like you said, for the greater good. But then somehow we can't extend that same principle to an apostle of the Lord Jesus Christ. That's the one that gets me, is that, I mean, like, I hardly ever go on Twitter because it's a cesspool essentially. But like, Twitter is a train wreck right now, watching all of it. I cannot look away because the mental gymnastics that people have to go through to defend these things, and then to completely, try to take down Elder Ballard while saying, I sustain you as a prophet, but I detest you as a man. Are you kidding me? Like, how do you get there? How do you get there? I don't see it. And it's interesting because I saw the Abolitionist movie in the theaters. My husband and I went, and I met Tim Ballard with
the
original.
Right?
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
Sound of Freedom is the new one. I haven't seen either of them.
So the Abolitionist is like the documentary. The Sound of Freedom is like the based on a true story one, and
true-ish
like
story.
Right, true-ish, exactly. And the more that comes out, the less true-ish it sounds like. And so I was all in 10 years ago, but then the more I started to learn and understand, and my husband has some close business associations with police officers who were like, no, we hate that guy. We hate what he's doing because it's not working, or whatever. He's making our job harder. I don't know, and to find out experts in the field are like, no, what they're doing actually doesn't help. It makes the problem worse, and I'm not here to say like, this is how you end child trafficking, because nobody has that answer.
Yeah. What are you doing, really? Meghan the Mitch?
Right. Exactly. What am I doing? But like, it's all very, very unfortunate. I feel terrible for the people who have been misled. I feel terrible for the people who are intentionally misleading themselves. I feel terrible for Tim Ballard's family, who's having to watch this all be aired. And like, what has he, how has he, brainwashed is a strong word, but like, are his wife and children watching this play out, what are they thinking? Are they all in defending him, or are they like, whoa, wait a second, I didn't know that was going on. How did I not know? Like, did he ask his wife permission to say, hey, I'm going to invite this woman to sleep in my bed for the ruse, or is this all new for her? I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just all icky.
Well, and interestingly enough, and just sort of side adjacent as we kind of wrap this out, a couple things that we'll talk about. There's another organization called Exit US, that is facing a similar kind of thing. The woman that helped start that, I think, genuinely wanted to help people get out of trafficking as well. Started raising money and then used the money that she was raising, part of it, to prop up her socialite lifestyle.
Yeah.
Near as I can tell, not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but here from Utah. And it's just another thing. And here's the thing, because there also was another article, and I think this is in Newsweek or something else, where it's like, how come Mormon people fall for these things far beyond the other people, this affinity fraud? And the thing is, lots of things can be true.
Yes.
Tim Ballard can have genuinely started this because he felt called by God to do this. Yes. And could have made wrong choices that have resulted in him being where he is.
Yeah.
Tim Ballard could have been friends with M. Russell Ballard, and M. Russell Ballard is like, yeah, I'm against child trafficking too. And they had really good conversations. And Tim Ballard could have misrepresented his association with M. Russell Ballard to make it sound like the church endorsed what he was doing to be able to get greater amounts of money from donors.
Yes. Well, and you know what, I saw somebody bring this up, and I'd be interested to know is, and we probably won't find out ever, but did the church come to him and say, hey, you need to not do this? Somebody brought up like there could have been communication of the church saying, please don't use his name. Please don't use that affiliation anymore. And did he disregard that? Because if he did, that's also very problematic.
Sure.
In regards to how the church interacts with people and organizations and whatnot.
Well, and the other side of that, though, it's also problematic if the church didn't come to him.
Right. Yeah. And that's true too.
They don't get a pass as far as that goes. If I'm doing something, if I say something in a cultural hall episode and I find out from the news that I'm being reprimanded from the church, that's an issue.
Yeah. And again, like the church isn't going to comment on that.
No.
And so is Tim Ballard. He says, I went to my bishop, I went to my stake president. They said they knew nothing about this. We don't know that. We don't know for sure what has been communicated. He could be, I don't know. It's all very icky. And there has been more news coming out about another associate of his who is on video groping an underage girl in Mexico in one of the missions. And him on record saying, am I going to be prosecuted for this? Jeez. And somebody in the room saying, just don't tell your bishop and you'll be fine.
Jeez.
And the person he was discussing it with saying, no, I think you're going to be fine. I don't think the Mexican government is going to do anything about it. And that person saying that he's going to be fine is now currently the CEO of OUR.
Is that so? Allegedly, we should probably say, or do we for sure?
Which part?
That it's the person that is the CEO of OUR.
Yeah, no, he's for sure the new, because Tim Ballard stepped down earlier.
Yeah, this year. I knew that.
So, yeah,
we see that person in the video say that thing.
So this was all done. I don't know if it was a Vice article again. Sure. And they found this all out through like a records request or something. OUR thought that video and that recording had been scrubbed and deleted. Which also begs the question, why did you delete it?
Yeah, why would you
did you I don't.
Yeah.
So and that guy was also like the main producer on Sound of Freedom. So there's a lot of layers.
Yeah, and certainly this isn't the end of it as well. No. With Tim Ballard, twin brother of M. Russell Ballard, going to be running for Mitt Romney's Senate seat, it sounds like. Way to go, Utah. Could we think of nobody else better to represent ourselves? It's certainly not the end of that. But Meghan, before we go, are we sporting for Sports Who Sport?
We are sporting
because there's a huge story from over the weekend, and I'll let you take us home, and I hope you have the right one because it's huge.
I've got 3, maybe 4 that are really quick.
Okay,
no, they're really quick. Saints Who Sport. Dave Rose, former basketball coach for BYU for the men's team. He was inducted into the Utah Sports Hall of Fame. Okay. So that's exciting. He has some of like the best coaching record out of BYU for basketball. So that's exciting. Okay. BYU women's soccer ranked number 1 in the nation.
Whoop, whoop.
BYU is crushing it on the football field.
Yes.
The gridiron, as they say. They're winning, and that's exciting. And
baby. And they beat an SEC team in Arkansas.
Yeah, they did. And they're about to play the Kansas Jayhawks. And their head coach was like, well, I don't know. Their roster average age is 22, and we can't match up that. All because they go on missions.
Sure.
And everybody's like, yeah, if it was a training camp for 2 years, it'd be a lot different. But it's not. It's the age-old argument, Sure. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes out. And then
the pun is appreciated, by the way, with the age-old argument. I just want everyone to recognize how brilliant, less not brilliant, but yet intentionally, non-intentionally brilliant you were. Go on, the fourth story.
Thank you. Okay, I can't pronounce the name.
Yes, you can. But it's Puka Nacua.
Puka Nacua making waves on the NFL gridiron. Absolutely crushing it. He did something exciting, except that I was on the cruise, so I really don't actually know what it was. But I heard his name going all over the place. He was in like a top 10 play countdown, but everybody's excited about Puka Nacua.
So
he played at BYU.
Yep. He is a rookie, obviously, for the LA Rams. Okay. And as I understand it, he has the most. Now I'm going to get us in trouble. He either has the most catches in the first 2 games or the most catches for yards in the first 2 games of any rookie ever in the NFL.
In the history of the NFL.
In the history of the NFL.
Way to go, brother Nacua. Yeah. Way to go. It must have been that mission he went on.
Yeah, and he's an animal. He really, like, you watch him, you just hope he stays healthy because the NFL can take a really healthy person and make him not real quick. But, man, he just grabs anything, pushes through anything. It's Meghan the Mitchell, crack of the bat with a ball. She's sporting, and let's take a break. We come back. We'll do the Temple Ticker with the Pharaoh himself, Corey K. Ward. Meghan, thanks for being here.
Anytime, Richie.